Greetings, Otaku Faithful. Thank you for joining me again this week. Once again, it's Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief, and I'm joined this week by fellow YouTuber, Rogues Gallery Incorporated member, and Totems Creative Team member, Ugo Strange.
What's up? It's Ugo Strange, a.k.a. Body Slam a Newborn Baby.
And I'm also joined by fellow YouTuber, Uberhikari.
What's up, everybody? This is Uberhikari, a.k.a. the Nerd Nigga, here to lend Otaku Assemble my analysis once again.
And we've joined our collective forces to bring to you all, after a 3-month hiatus, the OAW Podcast, right here on
Otaku Assemble!
Weekly. And as always, we're here to bring you the latest in this week's OAW Podcast. Now, like I said, the podcast has been on hiatus for a while, and actually, we got a pretty good topic to talk about this week. There's some shit we need to speak about. And pretty much the topic for this week's podcast, as you all know, having read the title of the video, is going to be Warner Brothers anticipating upcoming Justice League film. Now, pretty much how I'm going to start this off is I'm going to give you all pretty much a brief history of what's been going on with the Justice League film prior to the recent announcement, and then I'll hand it over to my man Ugo to pretty much catch everybody up to speed who isn't aware of what's going on over there at Warner Brothers. Fuck, they're not even aware of what's going over there at Warner Brothers, but pretty much catch you all up to speed at about what's going on with the project up to this point. So, first and foremost, with the Justice League film, this project's pretty much been in development to hell for pretty much the greater part of a decade. If memory serves me correctly, the first whispers over at fucking Warner Brothers about doing a Justice League film started as far back as the early 2000s, once they saw that Marvel was actually getting some pretty good acclaim for the X-Men films. And they were like, oh man, okay, so not only do we know that a superhero film is possible, but a team-up film is also possible. So like I said, this whole project's been in developmental hell throughout the entire 2000s. The closest we ever got to actually seeing anything remotely close to a live-action Justice League film was in early 2007 when they actually got a script drafted up. And they even made it as far as preliminary casting. However, that entire project got shelved. Especially when you throw in there the whole thing going on with the Writers Guild strike later that year. The whole project just got completely shelved. Never saw the light of day again. And it wasn't until last summer when Marvel released the Avengers and Warner Brothers saw all of the money they were missing out on, and they saw that, number one, a shared superhero universe, but also most importantly, the superhero team-up film is still very possible, and they saw how lucrative it was. So now all of a sudden Warner Brothers like, well, we better hop on this bandwagon while it's still around, and they announced that they want to do a Justice League film. Only problem is they made the announcement only a few months after the Avengers had premiered, and they've already set it for a summer 2015 release. Now, there are so many issues that arise from that announcement, which we will get into in more detail later on in this podcast. But right now, I'm going to hand it off to my man Ugo to pretty much catch you all up to speed on what's been going on with the project since they've announced it last summer.
Okay, so 2012, last year, in the summer, after the Avengers came out, Warner Brothers hired this guy, Will Beall, to write the script for the Justice League movie. He actually had a finished script and whatnot. The characters were Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman as the main characters. They plan to release the Justice League movie for 2015 to compete with the Avengers sequel. Not a good choice, but whatever. They had a completed script, no director, and there was a time when they were like shopping around directors. People were talking about Ben Affleck and a couple other people, maybe Zack Snyder, even Christopher Nolan's name was thrown in a hat for some reason. And Bill's script was scrapped by the studio. So anyway, later on, 2012, Zack Snyder was set to helm Man of Steel, which was coming out. This was during the Sucker Punch years. We all knew Man of Steel was coming. So Zack Snyder's been pretty much that go-to guy. So he's kind of the potential of a Justice League movie is kind of in Man of Steel's hands right now as to if Man of Steel will sink or swim. Because Warner Brothers is now kind of backing up on their initial statement saying, yeah, we're going to come out with a Justice League movie, to saying, we're going to see how Man of Steel is going to do before we do that. So they kind of asked the ugly girl out to the prom a little prematurely in that regard. And it's kind of biting them in the ass because now the fans don't know what to think. Warner Brothers is kind of looking like they don't know what to think, and that's probably because they don't know what to think. And that's pretty much where we are now. We don't know if there's going to be a Justice League movie. Warner Brothers has said, no, we just announced it, but we didn't actually commit to anything yet. And it's frustrating.
Exactly.
Didn't they already have a script ready? And then they scrapped it?
Right.
It was scrapped.
Yeah. They threw out the baby with the bathwater before they even landed a director. Let alone before they started casting.
They shouldn't have made the announcement. That's what I'm saying. Like, it was premature from the get-go, and it was the most painful and, like, heart-wrenching moment for every DC fan out there, because I'll tell you, when I was watching The Avengers, it was a good movie, and a little bit of my DC fandom in me died watching that movie, because I'm like, these idiots are so going to try and do, and what happened? Just like a few months or like a few weeks later, oh yeah, we're going to make a Justice League movie. And I can just imagine the collective facepalm across the United States was just, and even like across the world, it was just collective, just boom. Hand in face.
I think it might have been, of course it's somewhat of a disappointment to see them write a script and then eventually throw it in the trash. But I think that might not have been such a bad idea. I mean, it at least shows that they're putting some modicum of forethought into this. And I think that overall it's a good idea simply because without having the individual movies of the characters who are going to be in the Justice League movie, without having that backstory set up in place, it would be, you could imagine that it would make the act of writing the script for the Justice League movie that much more difficult.
Well, you see, Uber, you raise an interesting point, because earlier on they were talking about doing the Justice League movie first and then using that movie to kind of spin off the other characters. So from the Justice League movie, after that, you would get a Flash movie, you would get a Wonder Woman movie, and a Green Lantern movie, a reboot Green Lantern movie. Let's not talk about that train wreck. And, just all those other movies spinning off of the Justice League movie. So they'd be doing what what Marvel did in reverse, which actually could have worked. But now they're not even saying that. You got the president of DC Entertainment saying that they don't want to do a shared universe kind of thing. And Jeff Johns has said the same thing. But at the same time, it's like nobody really knows what they're doing with this. Like, people are still saying they're going to reboot Batman, and we don't even know if they're going to do that yet, or if they're going to continue that, or if they're going to do it with Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Nightwing. We don't know what's going to happen here. So everything is kind of on Zack Snyder's shoulders right now, and I think that's very unfair.
Well, here's the thing. First and foremost, I mean, now we all knew that, like you mentioned when you talked about the facepalm that was felt around the world. Okay, we knew this was going to happen just because, hey, look at the timing. Okay, we didn't get this announcement in March or in April. It only came a month or so. Actually, I think it came, I could be wrong about this, but I'm almost positive it came a week or two after Avengers grossed over $1 billion.
Yeah.
Because Avengers grossed over $1 billion pretty damn fast. I think like within 3 weeks they grossed over $1 billion, and then it was like a week later was when we got this announcement. So first and foremost, you have already let the entire world know that the only reason why you are doing this is to compete with the Avengers.
Exactly.
To copy the Avengers.
Exactly.
Okay, and then that opened up the doorway to a bunch of people saying, "Oh well, they're copying Marvel and this is that and the other." And the thing was, I defended DC when I defended DC and Warner Brothers when this thing first happened. I said, "Hey, it's not so much about them copying Marvel. It's that Marvel introduced a business plan
model." Yes,
they introduced a business model that has proved successful. Understand, nobody has ever done this before in cinema. We have not seen a type of shared universe cross-film collaboration with movies since the early Universal monster movies. That's the last time anybody's ever done something like this. So when Marvel in the I want to say around the mid 2000s when they were prepping for Iron Man, when they introduced this, there were a lot of raised eyebrows and a lot of questions, but Marvel had it. When and please, show of hands, any listeners, and please, Ugo Hikari, show of hands, when you guys saw that post-credit scene in Iron Man with Nick Fury talking about the Avengers Initiative, that was the spark that Marvel was like, see, they like it. They like it, and they followed through on it, and it showed with the Avengers, because not only was it a blockbuster movie, it was good. It was a good fucking movie.
Yes.
So Warner Brothers wanting to kind of follow up and kind of ride the coattails of that success, that's not a bad thing. Like I said, they presented a business model that works. Hey, if nothing else, look to you like this. If Warner Brothers turns around and does the exact same thing that Marvel does, hell, well then we got a bunch of movies with shared universes with a bunch of fucking superheroes. Everybody gonna be making money.
Exactly. Yeah, everybody's gonna be happy.
Good. Everybody's really gonna win.
But the thing about it is, if you see somebody implementing a business model and you see that they're successful with that business model, then you just can't automatically copy the business model.
Well, the thing is, they don't.
If you don't have the structure in place to take advantage of that specific business model, and it doesn't seem like Warner Brothers has that in place.
Yes, and let me say this because this is really important about Marvel Entertainment. They have one man in charge, Kevin Feige. He is the only man in charge. All the decisions, all the directors, all the stories go through him. Right. Warner Brothers and DC Entertainment do not have that person, but they do. They do have someone on their staff who can be Kevin Feige, and that's Bruce Timm. Bruce Timm.
Yeah. Only problem with that is, A, I don't think they would ever give Bruce Timm that type of creative power, and B, I don't think Bruce Timm wants it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate thing.
I mean, let me put it, Bruce Timm is the one responsible for all the early DC animated series. Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, Batman Beyond, Justice League. That was all Bruce Timm. Bruce Timm and Paul... Yeah, and the early animated movie. Actually, no, the animated movie's going on right now. Bruce Timm is in charge of those. Him and Paul Dini are the ones overseeing all of those. But that's what I'm saying. With what Bruce Timm has to deal with in the animation sector, I don't think he wants to do anything live action, because if he did, he would be doing it. There's a reason why Bruce Timm only works in animation.
This is very true. Very true.
And there's also a reason why Bruce Timm decided not to do another animated series after Justice League ended. Matter of fact, if memory serves me correctly, they had to get Bruce Timm back to do the Justice League animated series, because originally he didn't want to.
Well, see, I didn't know all of that. All I'm saying is they do have someone on staff who can at least work as a consultant.
Oh yeah, definitely.
At least give them some kind of direction.
Right, but they don't need a consultant. They need somebody at the helm who can take over and who can basically steer the ship. That's what they need, and they don't have that.
Yeah, they need someone with their ears to the ground, because I mean, I may not like the guy, but when they announced that Joss Whedon was going to direct the Avengers, I imagine like every like comic book geek jizzed in their pants at that moment, because it was like a perfect union. It couldn't have been more perfect. And with DC, we just don't have anyone like that. We don't have anyone to kind of come in and be that, for lack of a better word, superhero that's going to kind of come and save the day for Warner Brothers. And it's pathetic, really. Like, I'm excited to see Man of Steel. I am. But this Justice League movie, I'll see it. But, I mean, I can't think of it being anything more than you know? And to make matters worse is the fact that they're, like, talking about Darkseid being the main villain. And if Avengers 2 has Thanos in it...
Which it will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's going to be really, like, a major... just... like crap fest for DC Warner Brothers, almost to the point where I just don't even want to look at it. Like, if they do it, if they do come out with a Justice League movie and it does have Darkseid in it, and it's right along the lines of Avengers 2, it's gonna be a sad day.
Right, and I mean, dude, and just like I mean, this entire roller coaster ride that's pretty much been going on surrounding this movie, man. It seems like it's been bad call after the other, because I remember. One of the first things they talked about was, okay, all right, first good move that they actually made was that, okay, it's going to follow up being in the same universe with Man of Steel. Okay, that makes sense. Why? Because you have a Superman reboot coming to theaters. I mean, honestly, I think the smartest thing they could have done, now granted, I'm talking entirely before having seen Man of Steel, but the smartest thing they could have ever done was, as soon as they made this announcement, they went ahead and they signed Henry Cavill for 4 more movies. That made perfect fucking sense. All right, yes. Smart move. But then the announcements they started making afterwards, and that was Green Lantern was not going to get a reboot. It was going to get a sequel. Because they still wanted Ryan Reynolds to portray Hal Jordan. And then this fucking announcement of the Lobo movie, which would have nothing to do with the Justice League film. And then, of course, one of the biggest what the fuck's going on right now is the fact that they don't know what to do with Batman. Which, that makes no fucking sense to me whatsoever. And this is what I mean. Now, they're talking about, they were talking about rebooting it. Okay, I could see that you might want to reboot it so that it fits within the cinematic universe. Okay, fine. I understand wanting to do that. But here's the thing. You've just finished releasing one of the most popular superhero film trilogies ever, which contains what most arguably could be considered the greatest comic book superhero film ever made. One that got actual critical acclaim as well as generated a shit ton of box office. You've already made the audience grow attached to having Christian Bale as Batman, to having Christopher Nolan helm this sort of project. Why would you then turn around and try to revamp the entire thing? You know, whenever you do a sudden reboot, it should be because the original product isn't working. It should never be. You don't. Why fix something that's not broken? And especially when you consider the groundwork that Christopher Nolan has already laid. In that trilogy, Christopher Nolan made it a point not to include anything supernatural because he wanted Batman to, he wanted the story to be more grounded, more realistic, more gritty. Well, when you take in consideration what that type of character being in that type of universe, what that would implement if Batman being in the Nolan universe suddenly had to deal with motherfuckers with superpowers. Right. Do you know how many interesting fucking things you could do with that? And you could do it completely, since all of Batman's stories, remember, take place in Gotham. Yeah, you could completely build on top of that. I don't understand why this is a problem. Now, I'm not trying to boast or anything like that. I'm not trying to put anybody under the bus or say, that I'm necessarily, the shit or anything. But I could write you a motherfucking Justice League movie that ties into the Nolanverse. Easy. I could do it in my sleep.
I don't know about that. Simply because Nolan's style. See, the major problem that Warner Brothers has is that they did not have the foresight to put together a plan of action for the future. That it seems like they're basically bootstrapping. That's pretty much what they're doing right now. They're bootstrapping. They said they saw the Avengers movie, then they said, okay, let's hop on this train. But they didn't realize that they needed to have certain foresight to put together a plan of action. Now,
I agree.
With respect to what Larry just said, if you don't have a plan of action, you're not going to be able to see or know if Nolan's style will fit in with the cinematic universe that you want to create. Hell, you don't even know what kind of cinematic universe you want to create to begin with. And Nolan has a very, very unique and very, very specific style for comic book film. And that's partially because Batman himself doesn't have any superpowers to begin with. And so Batman as a character lends himself more to that realism, especially that psychological realism and that grittiness. Now, what Cavell is doing, it seems like he wants to take Superman at least partially in that direction with that brand of psychological realism, so it might have worked with respect to Superman. But hell, there's no way that could have worked with something like that Green Lantern film. I mean, that Green Lantern film was so shitty. There's no way you could have have Christian Bale beside Ryan Reynolds. No way.
No. Let me throw out a hypothetical of what I'm talking about, and y'all let me know if this makes any fucking sense. I know me and Ugo done talked about this shit before, but Hikari, me and you haven't. So let me throw you out a hypothetical to show you what I'm talking about. Ideally, okay, first, before I get into that hypothetical, though, first and foremost, you got to understand the problem that is going on with Marvel and what is going on with Warner Brothers, and you got to understand it from a fundamental level. You got to understand what's going on first and foremost. Okay, like we talked about earlier, why Marvel got it right and why why it works and all that type of jazz. Remember the nature of the companies you're talking about. When you're talking about Marvel, the cinematic universe, first and foremost, remember, Marvel has its own production company with characters that it owns the rights to. And it's all in charge by one man, like we stated earlier in this podcast, correct? We're both on the same page about that?
Right.
Are we all on the same page about that?
Right.
Right. Don't you think that one of the main reasons why this works so well is because if you're going to make a cinematic universe with all these different characters and all these different stories, you got one man in charge of everything, right?
Right.
It depends. I can see that. I can see it working a different way. But yeah.
Well, I mean, it makes sense though, right?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Now, would it also make more sense if the person in charge of that entire... Does it make sense if that entire universe in its source material was created by one man? Who was the one who created Thor, Iron Man, the Incredible Hulk, Captain America, S.H.I.E.L.D.? Who was the one man who was in charge of all of that when these stories were invented in the first place?
Stan Lee.
Stan Lee. You are talking about source material that was under the control of one individual from Jump Street. So when you're adapting it to film, it would just make sense that same course of action would make sense on the big screen. Yes? Stan Lee was in charge of it in the comics. Your boy Kevin's in charge of it on film. Doesn't that make sense?
That makes sense, yeah.
Now, you want to know where the problem comes with Warner Brothers? Because DC was a company that never created a shared universe. What I'm saying is this. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, those are characters that DC created in themselves. Green Lantern, The Flash, Green Arrow, Hawkman, all these other characters, they were not created by DC. Those were characters that belonged to, I believe, what was it? Charleston Comics, which was a smaller comic book publisher that DC bought in the late 50s, early 60s. And then they took those characters in the late 60s, early 70s under the when Julius Schwartz was the one running DC. They took those characters and they incorporated them into the DC umbrella. So what I'm saying is, you had that whole Justice League. The Justice League was formed because when they merged these companies together and they took these characters, one of the earlier team-ups, they had the Justice Society of America that had fell out of popularity after World War II. And Julius Schwartz, when he was the head of DC, said, hey, that was a pretty popular book back in the day. Guess what? We're going to revamp it. We're going to call it the Justice League, but we're going to put all our main big guys in it. And we're going to do that team-up. And if anybody knows their comic book history, the Justice League and Julius Schwartz in that era, that's what gave birth to the Avengers. Because Julius Schwartz played golf with the head of Marvel. And he's like, hey, man, what y'all got going over there at DC? It's like, well, we got this new thing called the Justice League, and, readers like it, and, it's good. It's like, oh, okay. He goes back to Marvel's like, look, man, they got this thing called the Justice League with all these team-up characters. Stan, Jack, we need a team-up book. We need a team-up book. Do whatever you want. But those guys, you got that Iron guy and that Hulk guy, yeah, put them in it. Yeah. And that's how the Avengers came about. The reason why I went into this whole history lesson is because you have to understand the nature of the properties. One was always intended to be a shared universe. One was not. One of the best conflicts. I think one of the best conflicts in any Justice League story is the fact that these characters have such a hard time working with each other. Now, I think that should be the premise for any superhero team-up. Any story where you're teaming up such a huge cast of over-the-top characters who, in all outright, should be the stars of their own fucking movies, their own shows, they have their own books. That difficulty working together, that's always going to be at the forefront. My hypothetical that I wanted to introduce was this. It would make perfect sense for Nolan's Batman to exist in a Justice League movie because he does not belong in the universe. That's the whole point. If you have the Man of Steel Superman and this realistic gritty Batman and all of a sudden he got to deal with this motherfucker, that's the whole point. It makes perfect fucking sense.
I just have a question before I address that point that you just made. Is DC planning, is Warner Brothers planning to create a shared universe?
They don't know.
They don't know.
Well, this is my point, Larry. This is my point. If you have no foresight to put in place a structure that will allow you to take advantage of the business model, then you have no idea what kind of characters can fit together and how they could possibly fit together. And this was my point. What you're saying makes perfect sense in one context. And it makes perfect sense for what Marvel has done. But if you try to translate that into DC with a bunch of people who have no foresight and who didn't have this plan of action in place to begin with, then what seems so natural to you, Larry, would seem like it would never occur to these people at Warner Brothers.
Exactly.
But what I'm saying is that doesn't matter from a business standpoint. Let me throw out the hypothetical of how this would work. You put out Man of Steel, right? Man of Steel does really well, right? Okay, well, guess what? Then you start putting out, say, Wonder Woman. Or you reboot Green Lantern. And those movies do fairly well. That's when you start trying to piece together your cinematic universe. Guess what? By the time you put out, let's say, okay, Man of Steel is coming out this year. Let's say by the time you put out 2 other movies, let's say what? We're looking at what? 2014, 2015-ish? Right? Yep. You got 3 DC movies that are out, and you can see they're trying to make a shared universe. You know what fucking audiences are going to be saying the entire time? Where's Batman? Where's Batman? Where's Batman? Where's Batman? When are we going to get Batman? When are we going to get Batman? So by the time you set up your little cinematic universe completely independent of Batman, and you put out that first teaser trailer for the fucking Justice League, and the last scene in the teaser trailer is Christian Bale as Batman, people will be like, oh, he's back, he's fucking back, oh my god, this is gonna be fucking amazing.
I understand. I
totally
understand. Yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying, but I'm saying that the business, I mean, just by what you just said, you said that it doesn't make a difference in the business model. I think it makes a huge amount of difference for the business model.
What Uber is saying is that your hypothetical is like very specious, but at the same time, you have to understand that Warner Brothers is not going to make that kind of commitment because they already don't know where they're going in the first place.
Exactly. That's the problem.
So even if they could, even if they did have your business model of how this would work, they didn't even have the foresight to plan that far ahead. They're not even planning beyond Man of Steel yet. They're just waiting to see how that goes, and they already announced this like prematurely. So it's like, if they were going to do something, they have to set it up at the end of Man of Steel. No question about it. Right. They cannot wait for the next movie, because Man of Steel is exactly where everything's resting on. If Man of Steel does good, then we can count on there being a Justice League movie, or at least them kind of pushing that forward. But for right now, they don't know what the hell they're doing.
They did it ass backwards.
What I'm saying is this. Even if Man of Steel has absolutely nothing to do with the Justice League movie, right? Which there's theory about that right now, because you got to remember they pushed back Man of Steel. That was supposed to be out in December of last year.
Yes.
And they pushed it back to this summer, which that's why there's kind of the rumor going around that they might have added something to the movie to make it incorporate into a Justice League movie.
Yes.
That's neither here or there, though. What I'm saying is, even if Man of Steel is completely independent of a Justice League movie, if you have a talented enough writer, you can incorporate Man of Steel, Superman, and Nolan's Batman in the same Justice League movie.
Oh no, I agree with you 100%.
Because even though this is an example of the same thing where one man's in charge of it all, Bruce Timm's done it.
No, I agree with you.
Bruce Timm did not start incorporating other DC characters into Batman until the New Adventures of Batman and Superman, which was the later half of Batman the Animated Series. You're talking about an animated series that was already out before all the other ones was.
But Larry, in the animated series, there was a hint of the supernatural in there.
That is true. I'll give you that.
What Warner Brothers needs, I think, they need a creative team.
Yes.
They don't need just one guy. They need an entire, maybe not a huge creative team, but they need a centralized creative team that could go into a room and hammer this shit out and create a plan of action. That's the only way they can move forward. Because one guy can't possibly do all that by himself.
And I would like to say, just for the record, that even Marvel has survived a reboot. Because they rebooted the Hulk twice.
Yep.
So Marvel can survive a reboot. I think DC, if we were going to reboot anything, needs to be Green Lantern right off the bat. You know?
Yeah.
Green Lantern. They need to reboot that if they're going to go ahead with the Justice League movie. Marvel has set the precedent for that. They survived. Warner Brothers can too. But they need to make a commitment, and that's what we're not seeing. We're not seeing a commitment. They want to talk a big game, but we're not seeing a commitment to anything except for Man of Steel.
I'll put it to you like this, though. Even if they did decide to reboot either Green Lantern or if they decided to reboot Batman, at least wait 5 years after the motherfucker. I mean, that's what they did with Hulk. First Hulk came out in fucking 2003. Second one didn't come out until 2008. At least wait that fucking long.
That would make better sense.
Yeah,
but I agree. They shouldn't reboot. They shouldn't reboot Batman.
I don't think they what. Okay. Oh God. I'm trying to really stress my point without repeating myself. But who? I just want to know who. Give me a name. Anybody listening to this in the comments below, just give me a name of who was the one that said we need to reboot Batman. Give me a name.
Give me a name.
Because why What sense does it fucking make? Unless the only way, and look, this is what I'm saying. I don't know this. Actually, I don't know if anyone else knows this, but unless Christian Bale has stated for the record that under no circumstance whatsoever he would ever consider coming back at all, and they knew they would have to replace Batman, that is the only fucking reason. And I'm sorry.
That was Jeff Robinov, president of Warner Brothers.
Is he still a president of Warner Brothers?
Looks like it. Doesn't say former. He stated that the next Batman film will be a reinvention produced by Christopher Nolan and Emma Thomas. However, Thomas and Nolan decided to move on to other projects, finding another film too episodic. Speaking of sound effects, here's the okay. There have been reports that the next Batman reboot will be made after the Justice League movie, and therefore the character will be reintroduced in the Justice League film instead of a solo film, and would most likely become a part of the DC cinematic universe, which again they have not yet committed to. This was back in 2011, so this is old news.
I hope they don't do that.
Like I'm saying, everybody's saying two different things. People don't know what the hell this guy's doing, and all of the pressure is on Zack Snyder, and I really think that's unfair. I really think that's a BS move for Warner Brothers and DC, and just the rest. I really think that's the most like low down dirty to make this huge ass announcement, not even tell Zack Snyder, because they're like, oh yeah, he's gonna keep us on track, and this dude's just like, no, I'm trying to make a Superman movie. What the hell are you doing? Like, they just put everything on him. They just put him out on blast. So now this movie has to do good for them to commit, but it's like, you already said you were going to do it. So just, again, Larry, dollar sign. They saw the dollar signs and said, yeah, we need to do this. Yeah. No one in that room said how. They just said, yeah, let's go
exactly.
For it. And now that they said it, they're all assed out in the middle of the street like, oh shit, how we get here? We need to start covering up. They're grabbing newspapers and whatnot. It's like, you can't do that now. You already said it. You got the fans interested. You had our what did he say? You had my curiosity. Now you have
my attention. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, dude. No. To be funny though, dude, I wish Django had came out a little bit sooner. Cause okay, Ugo, you remember our talk about fucking Man of Steel, like when they first announced it and when they were first doing casting for it?
Yep.
Do you remember? And I'm pretty sure anybody who's been watching my channel from Jump Street will remember what video it was where I had to swallow those fucking words.
Yep.
Yeah,
that video you apologized to Zack Snyder.
Exactly, when I had to make a public apology to Zack Snyder. And that's when they fucking cast Amy Adams as fucking Lois. And that was the moment when I was like, you had my curiosity. No. Dude, no. I said it. No, it was, no. Okay, no. Michael Shannon. When they cast Michael Shannon, that's when all right, you motherfuckers had my curiosity. Now you motherfuckers have my attention.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I just nerded out for a minute because I'm just, you know, dude, like pretty much ever since I started reviewing movies and shit for YouTube and for Killer Film and stuff like that, I try to keep my expectations low for movies now. But god damn it, man, fucking Man of Steel. God damn it.
It looks awesome.
Oh, it looks awesome, dude.
I can't wait.
Yeah, it looks awesome. I
don't see how this movie can be bad. And see, dude, and that's the thing that infuriates me once again, just going back into the topic. That's the thing that infuriates me about this whole fucking fiasco, because it's like, whether or not you liked Nolan's trilogy, granted, I liked the first two, didn't really care for the third one that much, but overall, it was still good. And then now you got Man of Steel coming out, and it's like, dude, you have the eggs, you have the fucking milk, you have the mix. Put that shit in a motherfucking bowl, beat it up, and give me my goddamn cake.
Yeah.
You have it. You have it right there.
It seems like the idea that Warner Brothers had was to begin the sort of journey towards the Justice League movie with the new Superman. Man of Steel movie, and they didn't consider the possibility that they could actually incorporate the Batman trilogy into their future plans to create the Justice League movie. It seems like that's what they did.
Well, I mean, and it makes sense because remember, there never was supposed to be a Justice League movie. Remember that when Man of Steel was what, halfway through production, damn near through principal filming, when they decided to announce that Justice League movie. So these movies were never supposed to in the first place, but that just because the movies weren't supposed to does not mean you still can't do it.
Exactly.
Right.
All you need is the son of a bitch who has enough balls to want to follow through with the shit.
Well, first of all, they need a son of a bitch to get everybody on track. Because nobody knows what the hell they're doing.
Because yo, check this out though. Because if you think the shit's not possible, if you think the shit isn't possible, the exact same thing happened to fucking Marvel. Because Marvel fucking was making Iron Man, right? And then they released it in fucking 2008. And dude, you want to talk about a fucking risk, dude? Iron Man's been in the fucking comics since what? The 60s, early 70s, and he never was a motherfucking household name superhero. The motherfucker had a cartoon on Fox that lasted what, all of one season, some shit like that. He was never a fucking household name. And so this was when Marvel decided to make their own film studio. This was the first movie out the gate, and then to top it all off, you got Jon Favreau for an action movie.
Well,
Risky
Larry,
much.
Well, Larry, this is what I'm saying. The greater the risk, the greater the reward. Oh. Marvel wasn't entirely stupid with this because they did get Robert Downey Jr.
And then let me throw this into your motherfucking corporate wrench. Do any of you guys remember what happened to Marvel in 2008?
Oh wait, no, didn't they go bankrupt?
Yes, they got bought out.
Wait, Marvel went bankrupt?
Hell yeah, dude. Marvel fucking filed for bankruptcy so many times.
Yeah, I had no idea.
They've been in and out of the po house.
That's true.
So yeah, in 2008 was when the motherfuckers got bought. No. It was early 2009, and that shit happened. Like all this shit was happening at the same fucking time. And man, you want to talk about the creative risk, dude? You got fucking Kenneth Branagh to direct a Thor movie?
Well, hell, man, at that point, it was either sink or swim.
It was sink or swim. It was into the motherfucking Pacific. Let's see if they come up to the surface. It really was, dude. You had motherfucking risk out the ass, man.
But Larry, all of these were calculated risks. This is what I'm saying. Like they took risks, but they
were
yes. Hold on, let me explain.
I'm pretty sure your boy Kevin spent many a day sitting at home like, I don't know about this shit, man.
No, Larry, I'm pretty sure he did, but let me explain. You get the Iron Man, you get Jon Favreau, someone who's well known for directing, movies like that with some gravitas to it. You get Robert Downey Jr. to add some character to Iron Man. This is what I'm saying for a lot of the movies is that they spend too much time casting the actor and not the character. This is the problem with Green Lantern. They cast the
actor and not the character, exactly.
Oh, that's an awesome point.
Robert Downey Jr. became Tony Stark. He ate that role up. So then next you turn around, you got Kenneth Branagh directing Thor. Yeah, it's crazy, but look at Chris Hemsworth. He actually looks like Thor. He's a no-name actor, so you don't really have someone who's they're going to say, oh, yeah, that's, what's his face over there? I mean, can you imagine an Iron Man movie with Tom Cruise?
Oh, no.
And he lobbied for that role. It would have been weird as shit. But, so you get characters.
Well, not now. In retrospect, you can't think of anybody as Iron Man except Robert Downey Jr.
Exactly. But you get Chris Hemsworth, who looks like Thor. The dude actually has some acting ability, so you're not just, like, pulling it out of your ass. You get Anthony Hopkins in there, a big-name actor cast in a smaller role to add some credibility to the movie, and then you make it with, like, Kenneth Branagh. Okay, the dude's a competent director. He knows what he's doing. He's handling these kind of, weird, dramatic personas there. But either way, Chris Hemsworth wasn't like, ooh, that's Chris Hemsworth. I mean, now it's like that, but I mean, Back then, it was like, that nigga's Thor. You saw Chris Evans, you saw Thor. Then they come out with Captain America.
Oh, yeah, and no, we know about that shit, because there was so, I remember when, before the movie came out, there was so much hoopla. It's like, oh, Chris Evans, he can't do a serious role. He's gonna fuck it up, just like he fucked up Human Torch.
Yeah, and what did he do?
Showed him.
He committed. But again, he had a competent director there, a competent story, a competent script, and, competent actors. Stanley Tucci. He was surrounded by Tommy Lee Jones. He was surrounded by very competent people, and he brought his A game to the table. He delivered. So now I don't see Chris Evans anymore. I see Captain America. That's who he is to me now. He was never the Human Torch to me, because I completely forgot he was the Human Torch. And I was like, that's the Human Torch. This nigga's Captain America now. He played 2 Marvel characters. So it's all calculated risk. With DC, they're going, with Henry Cavill, they're doing it all right, because, Henry Cavill's not, not a big name. But with Ryan Reynolds as Green Lantern, that's the reason why that movie failed. Ryan Reynolds is not Hal Jordan. He's Ryan Reynolds. That's who he is. If he was Wally West, hell yeah, let's do this. But he's not Hal Jordan, and he's never going to be Hal Jordan.
Yeah, he sucks as Hal Jordan.
Yes, he does suck at Hal Jordan. And I'm not saying Ryan Reynolds is a bad actor. I'm just saying he's not Hal Jordan. I don't look at him and see Hal Jordan. I look at Chris Hemsworth, I see Thor. I look at Robert Downey Jr., I see Iron Man. More so than I do Sherlock Holmes, for that matter. So Marvel took risks, but they were all calculated. They put
and they had a plan. That's what a calculated risk is. You take a risk, but you take a risk with a plan.
Yeah, they put some no-name actors in there with competent directors who could, actually fucking direct a movie and not just let the actors do whatever the hell they want or just, keep their hands off the project. But they put them there with people who knew what the hell they were doing, and they trusted them. That's the important thing. They trusted them. And with Warner Brothers, you can tell there's no trust because nobody knows what no one's doing. DC president is saying this. Warner Brothers CEO was saying this. They're saying this. Zack Snyder's saying he's just trying to make a Superman. No one's on the same page here. Of course no one knows what the hell is going on. Of course no one can commit to anything because no one committed to anything. As I'm saying, this was rushed and not thought out. They just saw the dollar signs and said, let's do it. Then the minute they got to the finish line, they didn't know what the hell they were doing there. They were just like, oh, shit, wow.
This is for real?
Yeah, we really said that. Oh, I guess we got to start doing something too, right? Yeah. Hey, Zach, come here. Yeah, I know you're making that Superman movie, but you know what? We're just gonna hold back on this Justice League thing just to see how you're doing. And Zach's like, oh, okay.
Oh, dude, and they, man, and not to mention, bro, they kept pining after Nolan. It was like, Nolan, no, you got to do it. You got to do it. Save us, Nolan, Jesus.
And that's another thing.
Save us, Nolan, Jesus.
Please. Please
save us, Nolan, Jesus. We'll give you whatever you want.
Thank you, Based Nolan. No, why in the hell would they try and get Christopher Nolan back after the nigga said he was going to leave after the third Batman? The nigga said he was only doing this. He didn't even want to do the third one. He only did the third because they let him do Inception. So it's like, why would he leave? Why would he stick around when he said, okay, I'm giving you this third Batman movie, and that's it. I'm done. Now all of a sudden they're beckoning him back, and it's like, okay. I mean, it's smart, but I mean, if you really wanted that to happen, you should have committed him to something else. You should have been like, yo, Nolan, if this Batman thing works out, can we sign you on for, more movies? That's a plausible deal, and if it doesn't pan out, Nolan could just walk away. If it did, then hey, more money. And you can be on as a producer, which he is producing Man of Steel, so, keeping our fingers crossed there. But it's like, they got to have someone in place. They got to have someone they can go to, and it can't be Christopher Nolan. It just can't be. Christopher Nolan can handle Batman. We'll see if he handles Superman, but as far as like Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, The Flash, a Justice League, I don't think so. I don't think so. I love Nolan, but I don't think so.
It's a damn. Oh man, it's a sad, sorry fucking day for Warner Bros.
It will be if they don't come out with a Justice League movie. I think it'll be 1,000 times better than if they did.
Oh, and since another thing I was thinking about, because I really think I did a good job. I think we all did a good job when we were talking about our fucking terminology. Another thing I want to get across to people who might be talking about this topic and shit. First and foremost, stop fucking blaming DC.
Yeah.
Because that shit sounds fucking retarded. You gotta understand, DC has no say-so in any of this. DC has absolutely no say-so in anything that happens with any of the live-action movies of any of their properties. They do not own the film rights to their properties. Warner Brothers owns the film rights to all of that shit, and they work completely, utterly, and entirely independent from DC Comics. So stop saying DC. It's fucking Warner Brothers. You want somebody to blame? Blame them niggas over there.
The most that DC would ever do is be consultants. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah, they just provide the source material.
You want to blame somebody? Blame them niggas right over there. Right over there. With the big old WB on their goddamn gate. Blame them niggas.
But again, I'm not going to sit here and bash the WB because they gave us a lot of great things. But it's just, right now, their greed and their ill logic is really on Front Street right now. And it's been on Front Street since last year. Yep. And it's getting really sad to watch as a DC fan. It's getting really sad. Really sad. And I just... They
need to get a creative team, and I'd like to see Geoff Johns on that team.
He's CEO of DC Comics right now. His page is his plate is full.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot that they're working him like a Russian racehorse.
But he was a consultant and a writer on both Smallville and on Arrow.
That was before. Well, Arrow. That's now.
He wrote the Wednesday's episode.
Yeah, for Arrow, okay, but for Smallville, that was before he became the CEO.
But I would say if you were going to make a creative team to write this shit, the number one guy you would want to get is Geoff Johns.
Jeff Jones and Gail Simone need to be on that team.
Yep, I was just about to say that because I tell you right now, I don't want to see no Wonder Woman movie if Gail didn't write it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. I don't even want to. It's like, who's the writer on that? Oh, well, this guy named Brent. Nope. I don't want it. If Gail didn't write it, I don't want it.
But those are the two people who need to be on that.
It's a damn shame.
It's a sad day. We'll see. When 2015 rolls around and there's a Justice League movie,
there's no way, bro. There's no way they're gonna put one together in time. You figure Man of Steel comes out in June? What, they just supposed to fucking light a fire under their ass and have a movie out in less than 2 years?
That's not
yeah, but that's the scary thing. I think it might.
They need time. What they need, they need to go through this and give themselves ample time to develop their plan. That's what they need.
But this is what I'm saying, Uber. They already announced it. If they wanted to plan it, they shouldn't have announced it. There's been whispers and whatnot, but this time they said, no, yeah, this Justice League movie thing is happening. And now they're taking a step back and saying, no, it's not. Oh, wait, no, it is. Well, we're just going to see how Man of Steel does. But, so if Man of Steel does good, then it's happening. But if it doesn't, then it's not. And it's like...
Yeah, and see, and that's the funny fucking thing, because, all the times that I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, the 07 movie and shit like that, most motherfuckers didn't even know that shit was going on.
Exactly.
We knew about it because we keep up with shit like that. But not only did these motherfuckers announce it, the motherfuckers had a date.
Yeah.
It was
a cast, directors, scripts.
Oh, man. See, now I'm curious, though. I want to know what was in that fucking script that was so bad that they had to fucking that they scrapped it. I want to know what was in that script.
It probably wasn't bad at all.
Well, with these guys, you never know.
Yeah.
I want to know what was in that script. I'm so curious now.
It probably wasn't bad at all.
God damn, man. Well,
man, we've been on this joint for like an hour or something.
Have we? No, just under an hour. 55 minutes.
Okay, word.
But I don't know. I mean, we getting ready to wrap this up. I don't want to make this podcast too fucking long.
Word.
I actually though, I did want to kind of get into like, okay, Ugo, remember when me and you were talking about how I would or how we would set up the DC cinematic universe?
Right.
I don't know if we got time to get into that, and let's be honest, it's all for naught, because we know that shit's not gonna happen the way we want it to. It makes perfect fucking sense, and for all honesty, them motherfuckers need to be calling us up for jobs, but that's being overly motherfucking optimistic. But fuck it, just for shits and giggles, with the last couple of minutes we got left, let's in hopes, and I'll tell you this, all the listeners, if y'all know anybody who works over there, y'all better tell them motherfuckers get in contact with us. Niggas got bills to pay. I'm just saying. But no, when we were talking about doing like the DC cinematic universe, like break it down how we were talking about we would fucking do it.
Nah,
just for me, first, there's got to be a shared universe. It must be a shared universe.
Well, of course.
Otherwise, it just doesn't make sense why you would have independent characters and independent films who all of a sudden got together in this one film. That's the only thing I would care about.
Yeah. For me, like I said, I would introduce the crisis concept. I mean, we've had other Batmans before. There's no reason why we can't incorporate those movies in there so we can say, oh yeah, so all of these things did happen, and now we have the Nolan Batman, and then, bring in the Superman and be like, oh yeah, so you're kind of like making making the movie reflective of the comic books, where you do have the multiverse, the crisis, and all that other stuff. So you can have the Burton Batman and the Schumacher Batmans, unfortunately, and the Nolan Batmans, and the Donner Superman, and you can have the Snyder Superman, and all of those things can kind of coexist at the same time, while bringing in the Justice League to say, like, yes, all of these things happened, but these are all different universes. This is our universe with, the Nolan and the Snyder Superman, Batman, and whatnot.
That'd be interesting.
And then, yeah, you could just do that.
Yeah, but I think that'd be a little bit too fucking complex, because, I mean, dude, for all honesty, that's what they're doing with the fucking X-Men franchise over at Fox. They got all these movies that are all separate universes and shit like that. So,
yeah, hilarious. People are excited as hell for that. Days of Future Past, you kidding me?
Yeah, that's true, I guess.
So, I mean, it's not necessarily, I mean, like, it's putting something that the fans know in the comic books in the movie, so that people who are watching the movies can get a sense that they know who these characters are, and that they've already kind of dealt with these characters, and then kind of reintroduce them again without having to nullify any pre-existing history.
Right.
Makes us feel safe that way.
Well, like we had discussed before, my whole thing is, if you're going to do the Justice League movie, like I said, follow Marvel's model. Make movies building up to it, and I wouldn't rewrite or try to revamp any of what they've already done with the Nolan Batmans. Pretty much the way you set this shit up, Man of Steel would be your first movie, right? After that, you might want to go ahead and try to reboot Green Lantern. You might want to reboot Wonder Woman. Not reboot, but you might do a Wonder Woman film. You might do a Flash film. The way you set this shit up is, first and foremost, you got to have a threat big enough to bring the team together. The easiest thing I think that would do is do the fucking the alien invasion storyline.
White Martians?
Yes, the White Martians. Just like they did in the fucking pilot of Justice League, the animated series. What you would do is you got Man of Steel, introducing Superman, all that type of jazz. Like I said, that can be completely independent of the fucking shared universe. But by the time you get to Green Lantern, that's when you start, like Hikari was talking about, that's when you start laying the groundwork for this shared universe shit. Hell, you might even have a Superman cameo in that fucking movie, since we know the motherfucker can fucking breathe in space.
Or you can even mention Krypton.
Cool.
Yeah.
You know what? You could actually have Green Lantern in there too, because he's like a freaking, a part of an intergalactic police force.
Right. I mean,
exactly.
Dude, there's so much shit you can do with Green Lantern. I mean, dude, you can mention Krypton. Fuck. When we're shown the history of the Green Lanterns, you can have one fucking Green Lantern fighting a monster in space, and you see Superman's ship fly by, and be like, "Oh shit, did you see that?"
That's crazy.
That would be sick.
You see what I'm
saying?
That
would be awesome.
And like I said, and you lay the groundwork for the White Martians. You do that shit in that movie, the second one. You do it way in the second fucking movie. You start laying the groundwork for that shit. And it could be real fucking subtle. Like, there's like, hey, well, yeah, we had that problem over at Mars. We went over there, but it was too late. So then people are going to be wondering, what the fuck were they talking about? So then what you do is you jump ship. You do the Wonder Woman movie. Right? Wonder Woman movie, we know the story. Steve Trevor, crash lands, Themyscira, all that type of jazz, all fine and dandy. But by the end of that movie, you make sure you bring Wonder Woman to the States. That way we can, Wonder Woman's going to be in this world now. Also, when you talk about secondary characters, introduce Aquaman in the Wonder Woman movie. Why? They're both fucking nobles. They're royalty. And you're talking about Themyscira being this Amazon island, fucking Steve Trevor, crashing on it and all that type of shit. Well, it would not be completely outside the realm of possibility for fucking Aquaman to be like, hey man, we had a fucking crash a little bit too close to Atlantis. We gonna stop out Themyscira to see what the fuck is going on.
I feel you.
You see what I'm saying? And then hell, and to be perfectly honest, I don't even think you need a Flash movie, because anybody who has read or who have watched Justice League: The New Frontier, the way they wrote Flash in that as being the rookie superhero, how everybody else was already doing their shit, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, they were already Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, and Flash was the new guy. And he was trying to figure out through that story where he fits in. And he was trying to prove himself as a hero in the eyes of them. So, hell, if you really want to talk about it, fuck. For a Justice League movie, you could either do the fucking White Martian invasion storyline, which Martian Manhunter would be the focus. You have the White Martian invasion, and that would bring the heroes together. Or you could do the fucking New Frontier storyline, where you have the other alien come down. Martian Manhunter comes down around the same time. There's all the fucking speculation and suspicion, distrust. Flash is the rookie. And the whole time, either story sets up a perfect fucking team up, a good enough reason for why these heroes would, team up. And then the whole fucking time, to make the audience feel better and to really cash in on the whole thing, you bring Christian Bale back as the motherfucking Batman.
Word.
That'd be awesome.
I just laid out your whole motherfucking cinematic universe, Warner Brothers. You're welcome.
That's the second time he's done it, too. Anyway, I think we should wrap this thing up. Can we do some blatant plugs before we do?
Yeah, by all means.
Yeah, I've written at least 3 articles about this on my blog. That's thestrangeverse.blogspot.com. Just go to the sidebar, type in, just go to the links and click on DC Comics, DC Reboot. I think Justice League movies in there. No, it's not, but whatever. Anyway, you can click on those. Also, I did a series of videos on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, Ugo Strange. You can go over there, check out a Justice League movie, where it's a 3-part video series, basically outlining their problems and issues with a Justice League movie and how they can at least potentially do one. And Larry settled a lot of points I made in the last movie with having the Martian Manhunter kind of be the focal point, or at least the firing pin, if you will. So that'll do it for me.
All right, Hikari, you got any plugs?
Oh, no, man. Everybody knows I'm doing The Walking Dead, man. That's my thing. So if you, and I just went ham. Let me tell you, man. This last review, I went ham. So if you want to see Uberhikari go ham and talk about sexism, racism, characterization, then head on over and watch my latest review of The Walking Dead, because I go absolutely ham.
Word. And Larry goes ham every day.
Yeah, I go ham so much, I'm actually tired. And so that'll wrap it up for us. I want you all to. I want to thank you all for joining us again this week for another OAW podcast. Once again, I want to thank my man Ugo Strange for stopping by.
Word.
Also, I want to thank my man Uberhikari for stopping by.
Thanks for having me, man.
And this has been Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief, reminding you all, Totems, issue 1, on sale. Links in the description box below.
Buy it. Buy it. I can say it's really good. Buy it.
Click it. What you waiting for? We got books to sell. I'm the brokest nigga on YouTube, and ain't nobody helping me.
He can't even afford to buy his third mistress a new watch, people.
I don't get that joke.
It's just funny.
Anyway, so that'll do it. Am I doing any other? Yeah, that'll do it for us. So, peace.
Peace.